makers of this brand new film. The site crashed, I just learned. There were so many people watching it. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Wow, great. And we watched it last night, my wife and I. My son, Hunter. And your mouth is sort of open the whole time when you learn. I mean, I had to keep reminding myself that despite the fact that this is a movie, it's true. I mean, when you would speak about, well, I got the following millions from here and millions from here, this is all based on what happened.
Yeah.
Were you surprised? I mean, I don't believe you knew all this before the movie.
Totally. I mean, Brian Godawa wrote this movie, and when he put in the script, I made him asterisk all, and there's a separate file where everything that he writes about is backed up by documentation, right?
Because then we knew they'd come after us for facts, and was like, yeah, well, here we go. This is all the facts.
And by the way, the stuff that most people don't know that he got in his research will just pass people by. But there's almost every line is a zinger because it's true, you know. And and I suppose this is one of the reasons maybe Breitbart, who are distributing it, this is their first movie. This is why they got involved, because it's true, right? So it goes into their mission, it goes into Andrew Breitbart's mission of getting the culture and influencing politics and telling the truth. And Andrew was a great believer in truth. So Breitbart, they came in, they're pushing this out, they're distributing it, and I mean, he got $3 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife, and he doesn't really know why he got it for consulting, as we put,
Yeah, I remember that.
In a rather racy way. But that was Robert Davi. Robert Davi, he's amazing. He's the director. He took our rather journalistic script, right, or factual script, but entertaining, and he just jumped it up a couple of levels every time. All the good stuff.
Off the top of your head, just name a few of the sources and how much money was involved with Hunter Biden. I don't think almost nobody knows this.
Well, for example, one of the things that I think is extraordinary, so $83,000 a month from Burisma, the energy company in Ukraine, $83,000 a month for 5 years. And I make the point about that, and here's a guy, in his book, during that same period, in his book he says, he smoked crack cocaine every 20 minutes. He said that. In his book, he said that. And lots of your listeners, by the way, are on the board of different companies or whatever, or they're running a company, and they've employed people who are addicts. Of course they have. Many times. It's happened to people. It happens. You don't keep them going for 5 years. You don't give them $83,000. And the reason you don't is because they don't bring anything to the table. This guy brought something to the table, and he wasn't bringing his intellect to the table because
or his knowledge of energy or Eastern Europe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
right. So that's $83,000 a month from Burisma. What else?
$3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. He was part of a $1.2 billion private equity fund in China, partially owned by the Chinese government. He
had a meeting with one of the Chinese, and they just gave him and his uncle. Here, you take that. $100,000 on a credit card for a bit of spending. But I mean, Dennis, that happens to you the whole time. We all have that happening to us the whole time. You meet somebody and they say, look, there's a wee bit of spending money for you now.
100,000.
And then the other thing that they gave him, the Chinese, was they gave him a diamond worth over $80,000. But sure, doesn't that happen to you?
3.6 carats, I think.
Every time he goes anywhere, this fella, Dennis, he's constantly, the wife is always complaining. The diamonds are all over the place. They're always throwing diamonds at her. Isn't that right?
Exactly. So this is, everybody understands it's done because of who his father was, the Vice President of the United States.
Yes.
And then the father claimed he never talked about any of this with his son, which you feature that in the film as well.
Yeah. Well, there are emails where and text messages where he is talking about it, and there's also emails where Hunter says, cut the big guy in for 10%, or my chairman in for 50% of this deal. And Tony Bobulinski, who's his partner, has said now that the big guy was their code name for President Biden. So, I think some famous philosopher said, comedy is tragedy plus time. You know, and this is an American tragedy in some ways. What Hunter Biden got up to, and what the media suppressed, the story the media suppressed, is an actual American tragedy. In the run-up to election, the people who brought down Nixon expended all their energy for the to destroy the October surprise in Hunter Biden. It's an American tragedy, and a little time has passed now, so it's an American absurdist comedy.
It has to be, and I think in some ways this movie is also about the media. I mean, I think that's a very big part of that.
That was just what I was going to get to.
And it's kind of, I mean, you would obviously have a much better understanding of American history, but I think it is unprecedented. I think it is the first time in American history that something like this has happened, where a story of this import was suppressed in such a coordinated way. By the way, I mean, the New York Post did a great job. They threw this story out there, amazing story. And there was a coordinated effort between big tech and big media to suppress it and to continue to suppress it. And what's funny, and you see, obviously, Dennis has seen the movie, and we obviously document that very well in the movie. And it's amazing to watch it. In the credits, we have, Russian disinformation. This is Russian disinformation. It was like, you talk about, they were issuing these, talking points, obviously, to these people every day. And everyone said the exact same thing, Russian disinformation. And then a year later, it's like, oh, actually,
it was true.
It's true. Dug into the 15th paragraph in some story that they had.
That's right. That's exactly right. The silence of the press on this issue. And now, as you pointed out, I think, was it at the very end, 15 months later, the New York Times acknowledged it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have a postscript in your film.
And it's, I didn't want. It's important to have that at the end, so people they're watching this absurdist comedy, they're laughing, they're learning a little, and then they're saying, "My God,
it's all true."
It's all true, and we have some
That's right.
scenes of Joe Biden speaking about China being a great country, and then we show at the end this is actually based on an actual speech he gave, and how he. Then the other thing about how he brought down the Ukrainian prosecutor to protect his son.
And was proud of it.
Yes,
boasted. Yes.
Yes, I mean.
All right, I want the people to go to your film. It's My Son Hunter. The link is through DennisPrager.com, or just go straight to mysonhunter.com.